Milky Way project. Hi, I'm Walt, and this is Delta Astrophotography. In the last few months, it has been constantly cloudy or rainy. And if it's not cloudy or rainy, it's hazy. If it's not hazy, the moon is out. The point is, I haven't been able to shoot in a few months, and I'm getting sick of it. So I've decided to pack up my gear, my dog, and some camping equipment, and just drive until I find clear skies. I have absolutely no idea where I'm gonna end up, and I'm excited. So join us in today's episode of I Have No Idea! In order to find the clear skies I'm looking for, I'm going to use an app on my phone called Astrophotography. It's a free app, but unfortunately I think it really only works in North America. So if you live somewhere else, you might want to try Clear Outside. It's not quite as full-featured as Astrophotography, but I think it'll do just fine for you. So this is the app Astrophotography. Let's look at how it works. Here we can see 3 lines that display information about the clouds. The top line is your overall cloud cover. The darker the blue, the clearer the sky is. But don't let this fool you. It could be dark blue and you could go outside and see stars and think it's clear. You go to shoot and you start seeing clouds in your images anyway, and that's because of this middle line. This middle line is transparency, and that is high clouds, haze, humidity, and smoke. So as you can see later in the night, the top line says it's going to be clear, but this middle line is definitely not clear outside, and that's the problem I've been having the most recently. The bottom line is called seeing, and that is atmospheric turbulence, and this mainly applies to people that are using big telescopes trying to shoot the moon or planets, and we're not going to be doing that, so we're not going to worry about the bottom line too much. If you tap on a time and scroll down, you can see cloud cover, you can see the wind, which is very important as well, and so it's important to check out all that. Now the way I'll use this app to find a place to go is I'll tap on the actual map, and now I can look around the country and see where is going to be the clearest. And as we can see, it looks like a lot of places in Arizona are going to be pretty clear. Let's tap this light bulb button here. This shows me the light pollution in the area. Of course, the darker the color, the less light pollution. So once we find a very dark area, I can go down to the bottom and create Get New Forecast. And I can see what it's going to look like for the next few days. Today, this area is looking quite clear. Even the middle line's looking pretty nice, not very hazy. But we can look at a 3-day forecast and see it might not be the case all week. I'll just have to keep checking the app every few days and seeing where it's going to be the most clear. Once I find a clear and dark area, I'm going to use an app called Campendium to help find a campsite. Once I found the place I want to stay, I'm going to use Campendium. I'm going to kind of zoom in to that area. And I'm going to tap the layers button up here. And I'm going to turn on BLM land. This is public land that you can camp on for free for usually 14 days at a time. And now you can see everything that's yellow, that's land I can camp on. And I can kind of zoom into it. And all these little circles with trees are campsites people have camped in before. They write reviews. They let you know if it's difficult or easy to get into. And so that's how I'm going to find a place to camp. This app is technically free, but to get features like the BLM maps or the cell phone coverage maps, you do have to pay a $50 yearly fee to Road Pass. It is the month of May, and I believe I'm going to see some beautiful scenery on this trip, so I've decided to do some Milky Way nightscapes. Now, for those of you who follow this channel regularly, you might remember that my Milky Way camera and lens were stolen last year. Well, good news. Got them back. A very wonderful fan of this channel decided to replace my Canon 6D and the Tamron 24-70 for me. Thank you so much. Back in the Milky Way game again. So yeah, this is the main camera and lens I'm gonna be using. I'll also take the Tamron 150-600. Won't be using it for astrophotography, but you know, if you ever wanna make a mountain look huge, this is the lens to do it. When photographing the stars, I'll be using a small star tracker. This is the Ioptron Skyguider Pro. I'll be putting this on top of a tripod. It'll allow me to do very long exposures, up to 3 minutes. To attach my camera to that star tracker, I'll be bringing this, the declination bracket, and the counterweight kit with a ball head on top. I like to use ball heads when doing nightscape so I can get the perfect framing that I want. I attach my camera to that ball head using an Arca Swiss blade. Normally they're not this long, but I just happen to have this really long one. This just goes right on the bottom of my camera like this. Of course, I'll be using an intervalometer. This is a remote I can connect to my camera that allows me to shoot images longer than 30 seconds, up to as long as I want, really, as long as my camera is in bulb mode. It also allows me to take multiple images back to back to back without ever having to touch the camera. And that's kind of necessary if you want to collect large amounts of data on the Milky Way and stack them later in stacking software like Sequitur. I'm gonna bring a few headlamps so I can see in the dark. I always like to make sure that they have a red light feature in case there's anybody else around. I don't want to bother them, but it also protects my eyes so they stay adjusted to the dark. Of course, I'm going to want to have several backup batteries for my camera. And speaking of batteries, I'm going to bring the Goal Zero Yeti 400 so I can charge my camera batteries and my star tracker if I need to. Now, of course, if I get out there and I'm able to shoot the Milky Way, I'll kind of show you what I'm doing step by step. It won't be quite as in-depth as some of my Milky Way tutorials, though. If you want to really see how to shoot the Milky Way, I'll leave some links in the description below to some of my other Milky Way tutorials. All right, I think that about wraps it up for the gear. I think the last piece is I'm gonna rent a vehicle. I've put 250,000 miles in my car. I do not feel like driving that out west and then breaking down in the desert, so I'm gonna rent a vehicle for this trip. I'm gonna get everything situated, and we're gonna get ready to head out. See you when we leave. Well, good morning. It is strangely beautiful and clear outside, but I'm about to check the Astrophotography app and just kind of get a general direction on where I might be going, and I'm just gonna head out. So let's look and see what the clouds are looking like. Okay, it is looking pretty clear here. Maybe I should just stay home. All right, I'm gonna tap on the screen, kind of zoom out and get an idea of what's going on in the entire United States. I'm gonna skip over to Sunday night. All right, I'm gonna scroll over to the west a little bit and see where it looks clear. Pretty much nowhere. Let's move on over into Monday. All right, by Monday, it's looking like parts of Arizona are looking very clear, and also parts of Wyoming, specifically Devil's Tower. But also this area down here in Arizona is gorgeous as well, so I have no idea where I want to go. Let's just go ahead and see if I can make it as far as Oklahoma or Texas today, and we'll figure out where I'm going tomorrow. All right, we got the rental car all dog-proofed, packed up, and I think we're ready to roll. You know, it's funny, I've been dying for clear skies all year, and I've only gotten a handful, and now I'm chasing clear skies on this big trip, and the clearest place in the entire country is right here at home. But you know what? Screw it, we're craving adventure, so let's get out of here. Last night, I made it all the way to western Oklahoma, almost right on the Texas border, but I had to stop around 1 o'clock in the morning to camp, and it was a bit of a crowded campsite, but I didn't realize that this was only a few yards away. I could have just kept going down the road. Oh man, what a mistake. Oh well, it's kind of nice. So now I'm gonna go get in my car, open Astrophotography again, and see where the day takes us. Here's where I'm at in Oklahoma right now. Let's go ahead and tap on the map. Wow. It is quite cloudy down in the south and in the west. It looks like Kansas, Nebraska, and the Dakotas are awesome. Wyoming, southern Montana. But that's today. Let's see what it's gonna look like tomorrow night and Monday night. Wow, the clouds look even worse almost everywhere tomorrow night. Let's fast forward to Monday night. It looks like things are starting to clear up a little bit by Monday night. I can see some portions of western Arizona that are looking quite clear, and we might try to head over that way. If there's time. I hope there's time. Okay, I think that's where I want to go. The transition from delta to desert is such a beautiful experience. Go from the flatlands and fields of the Mississippi Delta to the green hills and mountains of Arkansas and Oklahoma. And now we're getting into Texas, where things are taking an even more interesting change. The farther west I got, the more I started to notice a haze in the air. By the time I reached New Mexico, the haze was so thick I could not see giant mountains right in front of me, and I soon found out that this was smoke from Canadian wildfires, and it was actually making me sick. I almost considered turning around and going home or going farther down south. But by the time I hit northern New Mexico, a rainstorm hit, and the smoke seemed to go away. In the end, I'm very glad I decided not to turn around. Okay, I think I finally found a spot to stay for a few days, and boy, is this amazing. And the best part is there's hardly anybody here. And the reason why is because I had to drive 8 miles, which took me 20 minutes up a super steep canyon, winding switchbacks on roads that are so narrow you can only fit one car. And sometimes you're slanted, and if you look to the right, you're about to fall off a 1,000-foot cliff. And it's amazing. And when I got here, the stars actually came out. I got here at night, which was kind of stressful, setting up a campsite at night with just a red headlamp, not to bother anybody in the distance, but pulled it off, set up my gear, and I was able to shoot the Milky Way. It was a bit cloudy, but who knows, that might add to it. But now, today, I get to focus on the foreground. So we're about to go look and see what was beneath the Milky Way that I was shooting in the pitch black dark, and I think you're really gonna love this. Let's go get a closer look, shall we? So this is, I think, Glen Canyon, not the Grand Canyon, but the view is every bit as epic. And back there behind it, let me see if I can zoom into it. That's Monument Valley. I thought I would have to drive to it, but no way. I think being up here on top of this canyon is the perfect view. Now the Milky Way was off in that direction. And as much as I want monument view in my Milky Way shot, I don't know if it's gonna work, but maybe I can get a wide enough shot where I can get that. Let me get a little closer to that and show you what I'm talking about. This is where the Milky Way was. Over here is Monument Valley. That's not a bad trade-off, honestly. This to this, I'll take it. So the sun is getting pretty high above. It's about noon and the shadows are going away and we need to cool off. We need some shade, and I have no phone service up here. I am cut off from the world almost entirely. Every once in a while I'll get 1 bar of service, and that's just long enough to send a little message to somebody. But for the most part, yeah, I'm completely cut off. So I think we're gonna go jump in the car and go find the nearest town. I think it's called Mexican Hat, and see if we can get some ice, maybe some cold beer, maybe a phone signal, and check Astrophotography, because I have no way to check and see what the clouds are like here, or maybe farther down south in Arizona, because I wanted to go kind of down south, maybe into western Arizona. It looked very clear, but hey, maybe I'll get lucky and it'll be clear here again. That would be nice. But for now, going to town, and then when I get back, I'm gonna set up a tripod and get ready for some photography, hopefully astro, but I don't really care at this point. Well, that was a nice little fun ride. I was able to get a little bit of internet, and I was checking the clouds, and it's kind of on and off, you know. I think it might be clear again around 3 o'clock in the morning, and maybe clear a little bit Monday night as well. I mean, I already got a little bit of Milky Way, but I want that out there as my foreground. This is the shot I want. I've decided, so I'm staying here. I decided to stay here until it's time to go. Maybe 2 more days, 2 or 3 more days. I'm gonna get this shot. So yeah, when I was at Monument Valley, I turned around and looked at my canyon, my mountain, whatever this place is, and saw what looked like a big thunderstorm blowing up. So I got the hell out of there and got back here as fast as possible and passed a bunch of people coming down the mountain as I was going up. I guess they were trying to get away from it, because once you get to the top, the dirt road is impassable once it gets wet. And I'd rather be stuck up here for a few days than stuck down there without my stuff. tent update. So ever since the storm system kind of blew over, it left a cloud of haze in its wake. And I checked Astrophotography, and it's not going to go away until Wednesday. So sadly, I do have to go away from here in the morning. I do have a plan, but we'll talk about that tomorrow. For now, I'm still going to try to go outside and get maybe a foreground for the Milky Way I took last night. And I'll kind of take you out there and show you what I'm doing, but I can't really talk because it's super freaking windy. Like, the weather has gone to shit all of a sudden. Everything has just changed. Let's get to try to shooting a foreground. And here are the camera settings I'm using for my foreground. 8-second exposure at f4, ISO 100. I typically like to wait till it's almost dark, the last little bit of light outside, to shoot my foreground, so I'll have natural looking nighttime shadows. Here's a little blurry preview of what my foreground's looking like.
Good morning. Well, one thing I've learned on this trip is it takes a really long time to drive all the way across the country. I have a job on Friday, and that might mean that I need to start heading back tomorrow, which means tonight is really technically my last chance to get a Milky Way shot out here in the desert. Well, I mean, it's going to be like a 2 or 3 day drive home, so I might see something on the way back. But this is it. No playing around. Let's go ahead and look at the maps and see what's going to happen. So the red circle is where I am right now. As you can see, it's pretty cloudy and hazy. We're going to look over here at Arizona. And let's just go ahead and fast forward to tonight. Here we go, about 1 a.m. when the Milky Way will be in a great spot. Look at that. A big chunk of Arizona south of Flagstaff is all clear. Now, I know Flagstaff in this area right here is very, very dark skies. Let's look at the light pollution map. Look how dark that is out there. And a quick check on the Campendium app. There are tons and tons of campsites out there. Problem is, I'm getting a little overwhelmed. This is my last day. I don't want to drive out there and spend hours looking for a campsite. I want to go somewhere fast. I want to go somewhere sure, and I'm probably going to do something stupid. But instead, I want to go to this area. And the reason is, I've been there before. I was looking at this area on Google Maps the other day, and I noticed this star. And I was thinking to myself, what the hell is that? And then I remembered, last time I was in this area, I starred it. And it is a gorgeous area. So I know for sure that I would have some clear skies, dark skies, and some gorgeous terrain, some jumping cacti. And I definitely think that this will be my last day. So let's go ahead, pull up my star, and let's head that way. 6 hours, 37 minutes. All right, I should be there by the middle of the afternoon.
Well, we got here a few hours ago, and let me just say, the part of the desert that we were in the last few days, I'm going to start calling that the pretty desert. Because where we are now, I'm going to have to start calling this the mean, ugly desert. Seriously, it's been 100 degrees since we got here. And the heat off the rocks on the ground, the gravel, makes it even worse. It is just extreme, and everything out here wants to bite you. Let me show you what I'm talking about. All over the place are these jumping cactuses or jumping cacti, and they will seriously mess you up if you touch them. There are a few good things about this site as well. It's very secluded right now. There's nobody out here. It's probably because it's a Monday, or maybe it's because people don't want to sit out here under the enraged, cancerous beams of death raining down from the sky. I don't blame them, but, you know, that just means all the more space for me.
1 hour later. Gotta finish Milky Way project. Oh.
One and a half hours till this damn sun is gone.
Just look at that clear sky back there. This is it. This is the moment. This is what I traveled 1,300 miles for. It's finally happening, and I cannot wait. This really is what dreams are made out of, guys. So let's get to shooting a foreground. The reason we do a foreground separately is for two reasons, actually. A, we're using a star tracker, so as the star tracker rotates, the ground's gonna blur, so the foreground is gonna be destroyed anyway. Also, if you've ever tried to shoot the Milky Way at a dark spot like this, your foreground's just gonna be a pitch black silhouette. So it's kind of necessary to shoot a foreground. I know a lot of people think it's cheating, it's not a real photo, at that point it's just art, and all I have to say about that is, yeah, so? It's still pictures of something very real. I just had to put the pieces together. All right, let's do this. Let's shoot a foreground. Okay, here's some of the camera settings I'm working with here. Let's actually look at what I'm framing up right now. I really like the idea of the jumping cactus being right up here up front, but I just don't know if it's gonna work. I zoom in, I have a choice of either having the cactus really in focus or the mountains in the background being really in focus and the cactus being a bit blurry. So, I'm gonna try both. And basically, I'm just gonna keep walking around here for a little while. It's actually not this bright here in real life, it's actually a good bit darker. But I'm gonna walk around here for a little while until it gets too dark and just take several foreground shots and see what I come up with. In the end, I think these are the settings I ended up going with for the foreground. I went with f8 for the aperture to get the cactus and the mountains a little bit more in focus together, and I think it worked. Once again, it's not actually that bright. My phone's just making it look a lot brighter, but I think that's pretty damn cool. So we're gonna go with that.
Let's just pretend it's nighttime for a few minutes, and I'm going to show you how I set up my star tracker to photograph the Milky Way. First, I add the star tracker to my tripod and make sure everything is facing north. Then I'll look up through the polar scope and try to find the North Star and adjust my star tracker to make sure the North Star is in the right area inside the reticle in my polar scope. Next, I'll add my declination bracket with the counterweight kit and ball head. And then I'll attach my camera to the top of the ball head. Now I'm going to loosen my star tracker's clutch and check for balance, and it is a little counterweight heavy, so I'm going to slide the counterweight inwards. Now that I'm balanced and I have everything on the star tracker, I'm going to look back up through the polar scope and make sure I'm still polar aligned. After that, I'm going to go ahead and aim my camera over towards where the Milky Way will be rising. Now all that's left to do is go ahead and dial up my camera settings and shoot.
All right, I've got everything set up, polar aligned, and ready to rock. Here's the camera settings I'm using. Shutter speed is in bulb mode, aperture f4.0, ISO 800. And of course, I'm saving my files as RAW files. I've got my intervalometer plugged into the camera, and I've got the exposure time set to 3 minutes. We're gonna do 3-minute exposures. We're gonna do a few test shots. If that looks too much, we'll knock it back down to 2, but I'll usually like going for 3. All right, we're just gonna wait for the Milky Way to come up and go drink a little desert water. So using those camera settings from earlier, I've been coming out every 30 minutes or so, every 30, 45 minutes, and taking another photograph and waiting for the Milky Way to get into just the right position in the sky. And I think now it's just right. Wow, just look at that, right on the back of the camera. I've been waiting for this all year. I'm now gonna take my intervalometer and program it to take, let's say, 20 photographs, 23-minute images. All right, I'm gonna hit start, and then I think I'm gonna go to bed.
If you're wondering if I really needed to take all those images, no, not really. The Milky Way was so bright last night that one could have done, but the more I take, the more I can stack in a software called Sequator or Sequitur, I'm not sure. But that's just gonna stack all the images together and increase my signal to noise ratio. I'll basically be collecting more photons, so I'll have more signal, more detail, and it'll remove noise. Who doesn't like noise-free images? Probably one of the best parts of this entire trip was last night, sitting right here, facing this way. That's where the Milky Way was rising, and just watching it happen. No distractions, absolutely nothing. I got to just think about, I don't know, life, everything that's going on with me. I got to make peace with a lot of things. I don't know, taking a trip like this is really good for that, really good to get in your own head and
figure stuff out, you know? It's nice to get away from all the distractions. Guys, this is what life for me is all about. I love this. I knew it was gonna be a risk, and I'm really glad I succeeded. And honestly, I just can't wait to do it again. Unfortunately, that evil bastard sun is cooking me again. I'm already fried from yesterday. All the sunblock in the world does not protect you here. You've got a double dose of sun and UV radiation bouncing off the rocks and gravel right back at you. It sucks, and I'm about to tear down. I'm not gonna tear down properly. I'm literally just going to tear down as fast as humanly possible and throw everything in the back of the car, and I can deal with packing it properly later. Another hour in this, and I'm going to be dead. It's time to head home, time to go make that money. Hey guys, if you made it this far, thank you so much. You are amazing people. I love you all so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you for hanging around with me. And if you like this video, give me a like and subscribe for more astrophotography madness. If you really want to help me and this channel out, if you want to see more adventures like this, or you want to see more tutorials with certain kinds of equipment, consider giving me a super like. Every little bit helps this channel. I'm not really sure what final image I'm about to show you. I got to go home and edit a bunch of stuff. But whatever it is, I hope you enjoy. I'll see you next time. As always, stay spacey, clear skies, watch out for scorpions, and see you next time.